EX-Bullies of Reddit, what was your turning point? We picked on this boy in grades 4 to 5, who was a little different. We would say he smelt and such. Even made a game called Stinky Boy, where we all ran away from him. The teacher made me sit with him for the year and I mocked him constantly. One day he invited me to his birthday. I was confused but still went. Turns out he thought I was his best friend and gave me one of 5 special sleepover invitations. He invited all of my friend group at the time, all of which made fun of him. I was the only kid out of our class of 30 he had invited to show up to this poor kid's birthday. He was so happy to see me. We played games all night and I had so much fun with him. Turns out the reason we thought he was smelly was because he had to wear the same pair of old cloths because his single father couldn't afford much else. Did I mention that his dad said to me that he had heard so much about me and how his son was so happy to have a friend like me? He even called my parents to tell them how happy he was that his son had finally found a friend. I hung out with him every snack time after that. Now in my final year of school I be sure to ask him what's up when I see him in the school as we grew apart and he finally found friends after I introduced him to some people. Looking back it makes me sad that kids can be so cruel. I attended elementary, middle and a year of high school in an economically depressed working class town, where the mills had closed down and families were hanging on by threads, if at all. It was a nightmare, like living in a prison. Bullying was rampant through the entire culture, even the teachers would bully kids in unspeakable ways. So yeah, to my shame, I also bullied kids, just as I was being bullied by others. When I moved away to a different city, where bullying was not part of the culture, I suddenly found that I had no desire to be mean to other kids. I no longer felt seeing people humiliated or afraid was funny or gratifying in any way, and not having to feel that way myself was absolutely liberating. In fact, I suddenly found it kind of repulsive on the rare occasion where I witnessed someone being bullied. I once saw a friend of mine bullying some nerdy kid, and actually found myself telling him to cut it out and leave him be, something I would never have done in my previous schools. I myself never bullied anyone again after I left that shit town. Years ago there was an experiment where a rat would be given an electrical shock periodically at random intervals. He would become terribly stressed out and miserable, and start behaving neurotically. Then, a new rat would be introduced to the cage, and the rat that had been shocked would suddenly attack the new rat with a bizarre ferocity. Now the new rat would be stressed out, miserable and neurotic, but the shocked rat would calm down and be just fine. As if all the pain and fear that had been imposed on him had simply been transferred to the new rat. I think once you understand this about rats, you come to understand a lot about people. In middle school, me and another girl hit off really well because we both shared a love for video games and anime, and we always stuck up for each other because we did get teased a little for our hobbies. Fast forward to high school, I started hanging out with a group of cool girls, and they always made fun of my friend. Because I was with them, I thought it was okay to do it too, so I also teased her and left her out in a lot of my activities. This continued on for 2 years, and in the middle of our junior year she sent me a text message that made me reconsider probably every single life decision I've made. Hey BIRB brain, I've known you for almost 5 years and have always considered you as my best friend, but I know people move on and drift. That being said, if you don't want to hang out with me anymore, I wish you told me to my face instead of visibly moving away from me and mocking me. I wish you all the best. I sat on that for weeks and weeks, and finally during senior year, I left that group of girls, who I later found were not so cool, and decided to apologize to my friend. I said I was an idiot and I was so concerned with high school popularity I threw away probably my most important friendships. It's been another 5 years since then, and she and I are still really close. It's one point in our lives we don't talk about because I'm still really ashamed about it, but I'm glad she's forgiven me and has become one of my most supportive friends today. I've often reflected on this, especially recently going to therapy, which involves a lot of childhood stuff. Simple version is that bullying was endemic in my life all the way through. My brother bullied me, our dad was horrible to him in particular. The neighbors were murderous shitbags who used to kill our pets, damage our property and make our lives hell at every opportunity. School was top-down bullying in which anyone weaker was fair game to be tormented. I found solace outdoors as much as possible on my own or working with adults at weekends and holidays. I used to enjoy fighting. I removed pain, remorse, caring, empathy or desire from my feelings. My joy was making people angry enough to attack me then thump them a lot, as I really did not give a fuck about anything or anyone. Except one friend called Clee. She got through my armor and I really lived for the tiny moments I shared with her on the bus ride home. One day as I had finished fighting some poor kids on my way to sit beside her, I Saturday down to her asking me why I did that. Left school at 15 with this ringing in my head. Left home as soon as I legally could at 16. Passed a group of kids my own age who tried to intimidate me as I passed by on a route I knew I was going to be using regularly. Decided I was done with the whole bullshit cycle of abusive behavior, so walked right up to the whole group of them and offered to fight them all. Laughed at them when they backed down, went on my way. Took me a good few years to stop fighting at the drop of a hat, but a few rushes with the law brought that into focus, not to mention a few beatings. Low, zero, self-esteem, lack of role models and a misguided love of physical violence made me a total asshole from 11 to 15, but a kind word from someone I realized was my only true friend at the time gave me the impetus to begin to grow. Now I work with kids and try to drop in little nudges myself. I use positive reinforcement, praise and shit ton of patience, as well as being a good person to my colleagues for the pupils to see. So to Clee, wherever you are, I say a huge thank you. I bullied this one boy and one girl when I was a kid. Don't know why really, I simply did. The boy was younger than me and I made him go home every time I saw him at the playground. If he wouldn't, I'd slap him around a bit until he did. The girl was my age and much bigger than me, but I was still the bully. I stopped bullying the boy on his first day of school, my first day of 3rd grade. He saw me in the schoolyard and immediately started crying and ran inside. That's when I realized he was actually afraid of me and the bullying stopped being funny. The girl got me off bullying for good. We were at a 7-day vacation out of town, and I tortured that poor girl for days. Called her names, pulled boards from under her mattress so she would fall, rubbed toothpaste on her hands while she was sleeping, all kinds of nasty shit. On the 5th day she finally had enough, and just walked away. A 10-year-old kid walked away on her own into the woods. No one could find her the whole day. I actually got really scared that something would happen to her because of me. She finally appeared in the evening, alive and well. She was hiding nearby and watched us look for her the whole day, only came out when she got hungry. I never bullied anyone mentally or physically ever again. I was one mean kid. I was a terrible bully for most of my childhood. I never beat anyone up, but I engaged in a lot of psychological torture, manipulation. I was the only black kid in my school, so to avoid being teased and singled out and harassed, I played the gang leader and teased others. I was also a lot smarter than other kids my age, so teachers loved me and I used that to my advantage a lot. I would get kids in trouble, spread rumors, break up friendships, and body shame. The worst thing I ever did, I cringe thinking about it to this day, I lied, and said a little boy called me the N-word. His parents and my parents were called into a meeting with the principal and he was forced to apologize to me. I kept my cool, and he lost it, and his parents eventually forced him, through tears, to apologize to me. I'm sure they punished him a lot more at home. I'm not saying this to brag, it actually haunts me still, and if that kid became a lifelong racist I couldn't blame him. It's easily the worst thing I've ever done, and I never stopped thinking about it. I've taken the Jussie Smollett hoax pretty personally as well. Which brings me to the turning point. I wish it were a moment of empathy, or an intellectual revelation that brought me around to loving and ethical relations with my fellow humans, but really it was biology. I figured out I was gay in the 9th grade, and understood pretty quickly that I could not get away with teasing, manipulating, and hurting people without becoming a major target myself. So I made friends. I learned to be trustworthy and vulnerable. I developed values that prioritized kindness over power. And despite the tremendous guilt I still feel from my days as a bully, I can say easily that I'm a lot happier now. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe and post your comments below.